Kia ora, my name is Anna, and I'm going to show you the new student visa application form. You can access the form from the Immigration New Zealand website. Click Login, then select Start, Edit, or check the status of an application. Choose Student Visa. You will need a RealMe account to log in. Once you are logged in, you will see the My Dashboard tab. To start a visa application, click on the My Visas tab, and then click on the Apply for a Visa button. The Before You Start section describes what you will need to complete a visa application, such as a photo, a credit or debit card, and your passport scan. The next section asks some questions about your situation to guide you to the right application form. Student visas are a temporary visa, so I'll answer that I'm applying for a temporary visa. The form is dynamic, which means that different questions or guidance appear depending on how I answer questions. For example, if I answer no to "Are you outside New Zealand?", I'll be asked if I have a current visa. The type of visa I want to apply for is a student visa. The following questions are asked so that I can be guided to the student visa form that is right for my situation. There are 6 international student visa types: fee-paying student visa, pathway student visa, exchange student visa, English language student visa, New Zealand Government Scholarship Student Visa, and Foreign Government Supported Student Visa. The first question checks whether I am applying for a pathway student visa. There is a check that my education provider is an Immigration New Zealand pathway provider, and a link to more information about pathway education providers. There is a question to check whether I'm a Manaaki New Zealand scholarship holder. If not, I will be directed to the Pathway Student Visa application form. If I am a Manaaki New Zealand scholarship holder, the New Zealand Government Scholarship Student Visa is more appropriate for my situation. If I answered no to the question about whether I am applying for a Pathway Student Visa, the next question checks if the Exchange Student Visa is right for me. There is some help text that explains that in order to be eligible for the Exchange Student Visa, I must have been accepted into an approved exchange scheme, which does not include study abroad programs. If I answer yes, I will be asked what type of exchange program I will be on. The options are school-to-school exchange, secondary school exchange organised by an exchange program organisation, or tertiary exchange. Study abroad students are not eligible for an exchange student visa, so if I select study abroad program, I will be guided to the fee-paying student visa application form. If I select any of the other exchange program options, the exchange student visa form is right for my situation. If I am not an exchange student, the next question asks whether I have a Manaaki New Zealand scholarship. This includes tertiary study scholarship, short-term training scholarship, and English language training for officials scholarship. If I do hold a Manaaki New Zealand scholarship, I'm asked whether the course duration is 3 months or less. This is because if the course is 3 months or less, a visitor visa is more appropriate. Otherwise, I'm guided towards the New Zealand Government Scholarship Student Visa application form. If I don't have a Manaaki New Zealand scholarship, the next question checks if an English language student visa is right for me. If I am studying English language, I will be guided to the English language student visa application form. If I'm not, the next set of questions check whether I have support from my home country that would mean the Foreign Government Supported Student Visa is right for me. Questions ask about a loan or a scholarship and describes the difference between these. If I answer yes to having a scholarship from my home country government, I'm asked if the scholarship fully covers my tuition fees and living costs. If the scholarship only covers my tuition fees or my living costs, but not both, I should apply for a fee-paying student visa. The Foreign Government Supported Student Visa is for students that have a full scholarship from their home country government that covers both tuition fees and living costs. The fee-paying student visa is the most common student visa type. So in this demo, I will show you the fee-paying student visa application form. There is a lot of common content across all of the student visa application forms, so this demo will still be helpful even if you will be applying for a different student visa type. After clicking Start My Application, you will be taken to the application summary page in the My Visas tab. Scroll down and click Continue to enter the application form. Most student visa application forms will have the following pages that are displayed in the navigation bar at the top of the screen: identity details, address and contact information, eligibility, character, health, relationships, immigration assistance, supporting documents, pages 1 and 2, and review and declare. The form is dynamic, so depending on the answers to questions, additional pages may display for some students. For example, the education history and employment history pages will display for adult student visa applicants. There are also other additional pages that may display that replace the PDF additional information and national security check forms. These pages include the background details, military history, and travel history pages. The identity details page has sections about identity information, New Zealand immigration history, and your passport and birth details. Once you have completed your passport and birth details, some students may see an additional national identity details section, and all students will be asked to upload a recent photo. The address and contact information page is where you enter your address and contact details. If you are completing the form on behalf of a student, enter the student's contact details here. A person that is applying on behalf of a student will be asked for their contact details and will be able to indicate that they are the primary contact for the application on the immigration assistance page of the form. The eligibility page of the form asks questions about your proposed study. The information collected in this page is used to assess whether you are eligible for a student visa. First, there is a section about your study history in New Zealand. Do you currently hold a New Zealand student visa? If you do already have a New Zealand student visa, there is a question about whether you are applying for your second or subsequent visa to continue the same study. The next section of this page asks about whether you've had support from an education agent to get your offer of place or confirmation of enrolment from your New Zealand education provider. If you did use an education agent to help you get your offer of place, there are 2 follow-up questions about whether the same person is submitting the visa application on your behalf or has provided immigration advice on your visa application. If the same person is submitting the visa application on your behalf or has provided immigration advice on your visa application, their details will be captured on the immigration assistance page of the application form. You will note that the collection of details of the education agent who supported the student to obtain their offer of place is new. Immigration New Zealand is collecting this information in order to have a clearer picture of everyone who has supported the student in both their engagement with their education provider and with Immigration New Zealand. If the education agent is not submitting the visa application on your behalf and has not provided advice on the visa application, you will be asked to enter their details on this page of the form. The student visa application form will contain a list of education agent organisations. Immigration New Zealand does not approve or endorse education agent organisations, so don't worry if you can't find your education agent organisation in this search and find list. You can start typing and select the organisation from the list. If you cannot find your education agent organisation, type and select Enter manually. You will then be able to enter the name of your education agent organisation as free text. Next, enter the country or territory where the organisation is based. Then enter the details of the education agent who supported you to get your offer of place. The next section of the eligibility page asks about your proposed study in New Zealand. Based on my date of birth, the form is providing questions relevant to an adult who will be studying at tertiary level or at a private training establishment. There are separate questions for students aged 18 or younger. The first question in this section asks whether I will be studying at Master's or PhD level. I can answer no, Master's, or PhD. I'm then asked to enter the name of my education provider. I can enter the first 3 letters and then select the provider from the options available. I'm then asked where I will be studying and whether my course regularly requires me to study at another location. I'm then asked what the course I intend to study in New Zealand is. Because this form is still in development and this is a test environment, I'm seeing limited options in these drop-down lists. When the form is live, you should be able to find your education provider and course. If you can't find your course, you will be able to search and enter manually, then enter the course name as free text. You will then be asked to enter the start and end dates of your upcoming course. If you are a first-time student, this will be the start and end date that is written on your offer of place. If there's no end date written on your offer of place, enter the estimated end date based on the length of the course, without including any extra time at the end of the course. If you already hold a student visa and you will be applying for a second or subsequent student visa to continue your study, the start date should be the date of your upcoming course or most recent course start date, not your original study start date. There's a section here for PhD details because I answered earlier in the form that I will be studying at PhD level. This section won't display for everybody. You'll be asked to enter the details of your PhD supervisor in New Zealand. The eligibility page also includes a section about education provider issued student ID numbers. If we need to carry out checks with your education provider, knowing your education provider issued student ID can help us carry out these checks faster. Providing your education provider issued student ID is not mandatory. We will still be able to assess and make a decision on your application without the student ID number. It may just take us more time. The next section of the eligibility page looks at your situation and plans. This information is used to help assess whether you have genuine intentions. There is information on the Immigration New Zealand website about what it means to have genuine intentions. The answers to the questions in these sections should be written by the student. If you're completing the form on behalf of a student, you can copy and paste or type the student's answers into the form, but you shouldn't answer for the student. The questions cover your commitments in your home country, whether or not your planned study relates to your previous study or work history, why you want to come to New Zealand to study, why you've chosen your education provider, how studying the course will benefit you, and what you're planning to do when you finish study. There's also a question about whether you're studying a multi-year program, for example a bachelor's degree, that takes 3 to 4 years of full-time study to complete. If you are, the form provides guidance that student visas are usually granted for the length of time that tuition fees have been paid for. So, if you've only paid for the first year of a 3-year course, your student visa will be granted for your first year of study, and you will need to apply for a further visa once you've paid further tuition fees. If you want a visa for your full program of study, you will need to pay the tuition fees and show evidence of sufficient living costs for the full length of your program. If the student is under 18, they will be asked if they are studying at primary, intermediate, or secondary school. If yes, and they are 16 years or older, they will be asked if they're studying at Year 12 or Year 13 at school. This is in order to prompt for evidence of permission if the student is seeking work rights. If you will be paying your tuition fees year by year or 1 year at a time, there is a question in the form that asks how you will pay for your tuition fees and living costs for the remainder of the program. You do not need to have the funds available for your second or subsequent years now. However, a credible plan for how you will fund your second or subsequent years of study can help in our assessment of your genuine intentions. The character page asks the student to make declarations about their character. This page also prompts for the upload of a police certificate from your country of citizenship for most students who are aged 17 years or older. However, if you are 17, 18 or 19 years old and have held a New Zealand student visa since you turned 17, you will not need to provide a police certificate from your country of citizenship with the application. If the police certificate from your country of citizenship is not in English, you will need to provide an English translation. This page also asks about whether you hold any other citizenships. The health page asks you to make declarations about your health. Whether or not you need to provide a chest x-ray or attend a medical examination will depend on the length of your stay, the type of student visa you are applying for, and whether you have provided them with a previous visa application. After you submit your application, Immigration New Zealand will check for any previous medical records, and if you need to provide a chest x-ray or attend a medical examination, we will contact you. If you have already attended a medical examination for your current visa application, you can enter the e-medical reference number or the Immigration New Zealand Health Case reference number with your application. Some students are required to hold insurance that is acceptable to their education provider from the period of their enrolment until the expiry of their student visa. The health page also includes a declaration about these insurance requirements and a public health acknowledgement. The education history and employment history pages display for adult students. The relationships page displays for all students. Information about previous study or employment and your relationships can be relevant to the assessment of your genuine intentions. The education history page asks about previous study at tertiary level. There is some help text to explain what is meant by tertiary education. Providing your current and recent employment history is usually only mandatory for students aged 20 years or older. If you are 18 or 19 years old, you will see this screening question. You can provide information about current employment or employment within the past 12 months, but it is not mandatory. If you have had more than one role in the past 12 months, you can use the Add More Employment button to detail another role. The relationships page asks about your relationship status. There is a link to Immigration New Zealand's definition of partner. A partner is a person you are legally married to or in a civil union or de facto relationship with, and who you live with in a genuine and stable partnership. If you do have a partner, you will be asked to enter their details. This page also asks about dependent children and if you have any New Zealand contacts. It's not necessary to list everyone you know in New Zealand. Contacts could include close friends or family not listed above. The Immigration Assistance page is where you enter details about the person completing the form, if someone's completing the form on behalf of the student. This person can select that they should be the primary contact for the application. If the student is completing the form themselves, this page also asks about whether they've received any assistance or immigration advice in relation to the application. The first supporting documents page is where you will be prompted to upload your identity evidence. There is some guidance around file format and size, as well as a link to the Immigration New Zealand website for more information about English translation requirements. You will be asked if all the documents you intend to upload are in English. If they are, English translation upload fields will be hidden. If you answer no, optional English translation fields will appear. This page of the form asks you to upload your passport, your national identification card if available, and for certain countries your household registration document. If you are living in a country that is not your country of citizenship, you will be prompted to upload evidence of the visa that entitles you to live in that country. The Supporting Documents 2 page prompts for the following types of evidence to support your application: evidence of study, evidence of genuine intent, evidence of tuition fees, evidence of financial support and outward travel, and evidence of eligibility for work rights if applicable. There is also an Other Evidence section where you can upload any other evidence in support of your application. In the Evidence of Study section, you will be prompted to upload your offer of place from your education provider. The wording will look slightly different if you are a returning student who is continuing the same study, as you may have a confirmation of enrolment instead. If you are applying for an exchange student visa and are participating in a secondary school exchange organised by an exchange program organisation, you will not be prompted to upload an offer of place, but will instead be prompted to upload evidence that you have been accepted as an exchange student. If you are a returning student, you will also be prompted to upload evidence of your attendance and progress. There is some guidance that gives you further information about the type of evidence this could include, and notes that if you are studying at bachelor level or higher, you may not have attendance records, but you should still provide evidence of your progress. If you answered on the eligibility page that your course regularly requires you to study at a second location, you can provide evidence of that here. If you are a PhD student, you may be prompted to upload your PhD research proposal and a list of any publications or research papers in this section also. In the Evidence of Genuine Intent section, you will be prompted to upload evidence to support the statements you made in the Your Situation and Plans section of the eligibility page. If you indicated in the eligibility page that you are studying a multi-year degree and are planning to pay for your tuition fees year by year, you can upload evidence of your funding plan. If you declared previous tertiary education or current or previous full-time employment over the past 12 months, you will be prompted to upload evidence of this education and employment. If you are a first-time tertiary student, you will be asked if you have taken an English language test to meet a course entry requirement, and if you have, you can upload your English language test results in this section. While English language test results are not mandatory, they can help us assess your genuine intentions. The Evidence of Tuition Fees section is where fee-paying, pathway, and English language student visa applicants will be prompted to upload evidence of their tuition fee payment or an explanation for how their tuition fees will be paid. If you are outside New Zealand when you are submitting your visa application, you will be asked if you have paid your tuition fees. If the answer is yes, or you are inside New Zealand, you will be asked to upload evidence from your education provider that the fees have been paid or that they will be transferred by public trust. There is additional guidance for aviation students who meet the fees by instalment requirements. Screenshots of bank transfers or receipts from education agents are not acceptable. If you answer that you have not paid your tuition fees, you will be asked how your tuition fees will be paid. You can either answer that your education provider will receive the fees from a partner provider, for example, study abroad, or from your home country government loan, or that you will pay the tuition fees if your application is approved in principle. The information you provide in the Evidence of Financial Support and Outward Travel section is used to check that you will have access to the required funds, that those funds will be genuinely available to you to cover your living costs while you are in New Zealand, and that they are from a source we can confirm. There are 5 areas under the Financial Support and Outward Travel section, covering how you will be financially supported, what evidence of outward travel you will provide, what format your funds are in, and if you state that you have funds, the source of your funds. There's also a section to enter the details of a person or organisation providing a financial undertaking for a student form. The Supporting Documents 2 page is dynamic, meaning you will see different questions and evidence prompts depending on your answers. If you state that you have sponsorship from a New Zealand citizen or resident or a New Zealand organisation, there will be an additional sponsorship details page for you to complete, and a separate online form will be sent to your sponsor's online account. There is a link to the Immigration New Zealand website that details the sponsorship process. As sponsorship also covers the student's outward travel, the next question about what type of outward travel evidence you will provide is hidden under this option. If you answer yes to any of the other options but no to the sponsorship option, there is an additional question about what evidence of outward travel you will provide. We ask this question here so that if your evidence of how you will be financially supported and how you will pay for your outward travel is the same, you will only be prompted to upload that evidence once. If you answer that a third party is completing a financial undertaking for a student form to support you or to cover your outward travel costs, you will see the Financial Undertaking section. This section captures the details of the person or authorised contact of the organisation providing the financial undertaking. You will be prompted to upload a completed financial undertaking for a student form, as well as evidence of the relationship between you and the financial guarantor, and identity evidence for the financial guarantor. There is a question about whether the evidence of the financial guarantor's funds are bank statements for the previous 3 months or a bank officer confirmation, which is part of the financial undertaking for a student form. If they are providing bank statements, there will be an evidence upload prompt for these bank statements to be provided. We also ask a question about the source of the financial guarantor's savings to check that the financial guarantor genuinely intends to meet their financial undertakings and holds sufficient funds. Depending on your answer to these questions, you will see different evidence upload prompts for the source of the financial guarantor's savings. Scrolling back up to the initial question about how you will be financially supported, if you answer that you have prepaid accommodation and or living costs, for example, school homestay or halls of residence, and answer that you have a prepaid booking to cover your outward travel, you will be displayed evidence upload prompts specific to your situation. If you answer that you have a scholarship that covers living costs and or a scholarship that includes payment for your outward travel, you will be asked to enter the name of your scholarship and the name of the organisation who granted your scholarship, as well as uploading evidence of your scholarship. If you answer that you have funds, for example savings, an education loan or fixed term deposits, and or that you have funds to purchase outward travel in addition to your living cost funds, you will be asked what format the funds are in, and will see relevant evidence upload prompts depending on your answers. There is also an option if you have funds that are not covered by the formats described. This page of the form provides guidance about the formats of funds that are unlikely to meet Immigration New Zealand's requirements of being genuinely available and from a source we can confirm. These evidence prompts cover both the funds evidence and the source of funds evidence for first-time students from most countries. When designing this form, we listened to student customers who told us that they need more clarity about what evidence to provide. This section has a lot of different pathways, reflecting the different ways students can be financially supported, as well as the different types of evidence that can demonstrate their financial support. The next section of this page asks questions to determine whether you are seeking work rights, and if so, prompts you to upload the required evidence. There are different questions depending on whether you are studying at tertiary level or are 16 years or older and studying in years 12 or 13 of secondary school. Finally, there is a section of the page where you can upload any other evidence. You will need to select that you've checked that the documents you've uploaded accurately represent the statements made in the form. The final page of the form is the Review and Declare page. Your answers to the questions in the form will be displayed. Review your application details carefully. Before you submit your application, you must read the declaration carefully and make sure you understand it. Once you've read and understood the declaration, your application is ready for submission. After clicking the Ready for Submission button, you will be returned to the My Visas tab of your account. Once your application has the Ready for Submission status, you can click Pay and Submit Application. You will then be able to review the application costs and select your payment method. Once you've entered your payment details, you should see a success message that lets you know that your payment was successful and your application has been submitted. Thanks for joining me on the walkthrough of the new student visa application form. Kia ora.